Hello everyone. Today I've got not one, not two, but three simply fantastic indie horror books for you to read, and these are all shorter books. These are all less than 200 pages, so I think the average reader would be able to read them all either in a day or maybe 2 days, because they're not that long, but they're all very, very fantastic, and I think you're going to love all of them. They're all also recently new releases, so these might be something you've never heard of. Go ahead and add them to your TBR because you are going to like them. But as always, I want to remind you that I have books for sale. If you want to see the book, or if you want to read the books you see on your screen, go ahead and click the link in the description. If that link doesn't work, leave me a comment, let me know. I will get you there, I promise. All right, let's get started. So the first book I want to talk about today is called Stuck Together with You by B.D. Mercer and Dan Scammell. This is a weird one to describe, but I put it first because this is the one I recently read and it's fresh in my mind. I absolutely loved it, and just look at that cover, and that cover has a lot to do with what's inside, because basically this concerns the cast of an old TV show, an old TV comedy. Think of it like The Golden Girls. One of those kind of comedies with 4 middle-aged women living together and all of their kooky adventures they go through. Except now, of course, the show's off the air. They're all retired. They're all old now, 80, 100 years old. But one of them has kind of found a fountain of youth kind of situation. And even though this is billed as an erotic horror novella, it is erotic, but it is kind of gross erotic, I guess you can say, because all the scenes of eroticism in this book take place between a 100-year-old woman and a demon that she summoned a long time ago to help her recapture her youth. And basically this demon is going to her other cast members right before they die, basically sucking their essence, their life force out of them to feed himself, and then giving it back to this woman, this other cast member, in the form of sexual gratification. Yes, she, a 100-year-old woman, having disgusting sex with this evil demon who has boils and pus-filled sores all over his body and member, and they're just knocking boots together, because when she receives his seed, it affects her physically, giving her, changing her back to her youthful appearance, getting rid of all her aches and pains and wrinkles and all that. And her goal is basically kind of to live forever, and that's how she accomplishes this. And there's one more woman left to go. She's 80-something years old. She's been in a nursing home for a long time. But as this plan is discovered, and I'm not going to tell you how, you just have to read it, but as she discovers the evil plan to suck the essence out of her to give it to this other woman, an orderly helps her escape and helps her try to end what's going to happen, try to end this demon, try to end this other woman before it can come after her and suck the life out of her, But the other part of this is that this 80-year-old woman, this orderly, that's taking care of this woman, had a crush on her from this TV show when he was younger, and that crush kind of still continues. At one point in the book, he dies, but he comes back to life with a finger stuck in his forehead, a sentient finger. This finger talks to him and communicates with him and has a mind of its own. And eventually him and this 80-year-old woman start to have all kinds of sexual adventures together as well. I'm telling you, if you see the word erotic and you think, okay, that kind of sex stuff is not for me in this book, trust me, it's a very disgusting, goopy, and oozy eroticism we're talking about here. Not at all like you would be expecting. This book has humor in it. It gets really creepy. It's disgusting. It's gross in the very best possible way. And like I said, it's less than 200 pages. It is just my perfect kind of weird. I absolutely love this book, highly recommend it. And there is a link to this book along with the other two in the description below. You need to pick this one up. And next on our list is a Puppet Scorned by Jamie Court. Oh man, this is probably the shortest book on this list. I don't think it's quite 100 pages even. But this again is one of those weird, effectively creepy books. It's basically about two knitted or crocheted puppets that are left abandoned in an attic, but they are alive and they decide to have puppet sex, or as he calls it, love knitting in the book. There's a lot of puns in here to knitting and crocheting and yarn as the story goes on. But they decide to have this puppet sex, and that produces little puppet babies that are attached to the female puppet by balls of yarn. He finds them absolutely disgusting. He decides to take off, hang out in another part of the attic, and because they're small, you know, it seems like he might as well be on the other side of the country or something to her. They're left alone to fend for themselves as this little puppet single mother and all her children, and they live off like dead cockroaches that fall into the box they're in, or dead mice and things like that. And then when they escape, they decide to go find this man and make him pay his comeuppance for abandoning his family. And so it's kind of a puppet revenge tale of sorts. And we're going to see how it all becomes unraveled. See what I did there? As the story progresses. But this one is short, it's sweet, it's weird enough to really, really enjoy and get into. And again, it has that certain creepy factor about it. Because if you know me, puppets and mannequins and things like that coming to life, that just freaks me out. And even though this book is more satirical and more humorous, really, than anything else, just the fact that this is happening with actual puppets coming to life, the fact that you might have some of these hidden in your attic or basement somewhere, what are they doing when you're sleeping? You just forgot about them. They might be having their own little adventures. They might be trying to absolutely murder each other while you're sitting there sound asleep. And that's just kind of freaky to me. But this was a fantastic, short, quick read. I loved it. It's less than $1, guys. Go ahead and check out the link in the description and pick up a Puppet Scorned. You are going to love it. And our final book I want to talk about today is from Eddie Morales. I've talked about his books before on this channel. I believe I've reviewed 2 of his previous books, and this one just came out, and it's called The Exorcism of Eve, and it is just what it says. It's less than 200 pages, so there's not a lot of setup, there's not a lot of pretense to it. It gets right into this possession. Think like Rosemary's Baby, The Exorcist, or things like that, because she meets a man at a bar, our character Eve, a strange, mysterious older man. Come to find out he's a demon, he possesses her, and then she's off for a few days with her best friend and some family members in a house all to themselves, and the possession starts taking effect immediately. Like her personality starts changing. She starts swearing and cussing a lot when normally she wouldn't. She gets very short with people, very angry, and they all brush it off as it's just, you know, it's just stress of the job. She drank too much the night before. Maybe she just has a hangover. Maybe she's got a bug. She's not feeling well. You know, all these excuses. But then things start ramping up and they keep getting worse and worse until, of course, as in any good possession story, things just go off the rails. Things are going to get bloody. Things are going to get out of control. And it's just a straightforward horror book about being possessed. So for all my religious horror lovers out there, if you like that kind of stuff as much as me, and you want something short to read, you can read it in a day or maybe 2. I highly, highly recommend The Exorcism of Eve by Eddie J. Morales, because it is so good. He doesn't use any extra words he doesn't have to. It starts out from her in the bar, and then it just moves along, man, at a speed rails pace. It just keeps going and going and going, leading up to the ultimate conclusion. and I think you will absolutely love it. And again, as I said, there is a link in the description where you can purchase this book along with all the other books I talked about, and I really think you should. All right, so those are 3 short indie horror books that I recommend, I personally enjoyed, and I think you will too. Check out the links in the description to go ahead and get all 3 of those for yourself. And as always, I want to say thank you for taking some of your time, spending it here with me. I really appreciate you guys watching. And until we meet again, keep reading spooky, my friends.